Good afternoon. Today is Wednesday, April 15, and we are in our third week of online programming. Uh, Today's skill, we're going to go over IXL skill L9, which is rotations. So we started now a group of five skill sets. This is the third one in the group. And as you know, I had indicated on Monday that these five skill sets would be packaged together such that I would take the average of the scores of those skills and I would create a test grade from that. So your goal is to improve your score grade. So first of all, I want to remind you, no one's grade will go down. So this is your third quarter grade. No one's grade, third quarter, will go down for the semester. And to improve your grade, your skill score must exceed your third quarter percent grade. So, to improve your grade, your skill score must exceed your third quarter percent score. Okay? So that's the simple rule. And I would recommend that you actually try to get these skills as high as you can. You know, you can start and stop these skills just like you can start and stop this video. So if you wish, if you're at a score of 63 and you've had a trying time of it and you're frustrated, you can stop it, shut down your computer, walk away from it, come back later in the day or the next day even, turn it on, go back to the skill, open it up, and you'll find it's where you left off. And you just continue on, and you can theoretically continue to 100%. So if you want to maximize your grade score, just keep hitting away at these. So you've got three, this will be the third one of five for your first test, and then you will have two more tests for a total of three tests. Each will be the average of five of these skills. So you're going to go through 15 skills between now and the end of the school year. The first group of five tests, I'm going to gather up those scores and average them on next Tuesday. That would be May 21st. And then the second group, I'm going to gather together on I'm sorry, did I say May 21st? On April 21st. So that's Tuesday of next week is when we're going to put together the grade for the first test. The second test, the due date is May the 5th, I believe. I'll have to double check that. And then the last one is May 19th. So I will update you on that, but just expect that we're going to be going through these things. You have 15 skills between yesterday and the end of the semester, and you can do them at any time of the day or night. I'm going to be flexible as I can about that, but don't think you're going to sit down and bang these out at the very end and you're going to be able to come up with the scores that you want. To do your best, you've got to continue to work these now. Okay? All right. Remember, a sheet with plastic covering it can be used. I've been recommending it. I demonstrated it several times to students during tutoring sessions. It works. You can mark it up and erase. Mark it up and erase. Best thing you ever had. And you can also put a grid sheet of paper in here so that you can do things like we're doing today, which is reflections. Now, I'm not going to be using this today, but I have, again, with one-on-one Zoom meetings, and as you remember yesterday, we used this. So today, we're going to focus on Skill 9, rotations. So we started out with the two other rigid motions, the first one being a translation, where you're removing all points in one direction. Then we did reflection, where you're reflecting points across a line, and now we're doing rotations. These are all rigid transformations, so the beginning geometric figure and the ending one will be the same size and shape. That means they are congruent. All right. So we're only using one example on this, and I'm going to actually be showing you the same screen but in different phases rather than writing it all out. It was easier with presenting this one to do it the way that I'm going to present it. So you're being asked to write the coordinates of the vertices of figure C, D, E, F after a rotation 180 degrees counterclockwise around the origin. So you need to very carefully look at these directions. A lot of people, when they do these kinds of problems, they, instead of going counterclockwise, they go clockwise. They don't make a note of what they're supposed to be rotating around. In this case, it's the origin. The origin is at 0, 0. But sometimes the origin is somewhere else on the XY coordinate chart. So as you work through these, you're going to see that will change. But this shows you the starting position of these coordinates C, D, E, F. And down at the bottom here, you will see that we put in the original coordinates. And then these are basically where the answers would be. So this is an example of what you would see when you would start. Okay, but you really need to understand a few simple rules about rotation. So we're going to look at that, look at the same problem through several different phases. So first of all, just looking at what's happening here, they said you're going to do 180 degree counterclockwise rotation around the origin. So if we're just looking at a blank XY coordinate chart, this is an example of a counterclockwise rotation. It goes from right to left, okay, and it's around the origin. So you'll notice that it's every portion of this semicircle is equidistant from the origin, okay, and so that shows you what's basically happening when we tell you to go counterclockwise. Now the geometric figure that we were looking at starts over here. So if it starts over here, where do you think it's going to end? 180 degrees counterclockwise. So we're going about a half circle's worth over this way, and we're going to end up somewhere over here. Okay? All right. So let's go and look at what happens next. So they're going to show us a little device that you can use to help you figure out where you're at. So they just took, again, the original figure, and they started out with point C. Here's point C right here on your XY coordinate chart. Notice it's on the left-hand side of a little box that you could create from C, D, E, F. What they did was they created a box where point C is the upper left corner. So there's point C up here. Upper left corner, that means then that C, D, E, F has got to be right up in here, okay? This portion. But they create a rectangle where C is up here, the upper left-hand corner, and the lower right is the origin. And then they rotate that box 180 degrees. So here's what they tell you to do. Rotate point C, which is at -9, x is -9, y is 3, 180 degrees counterclockwise around the origin. So those are your directions. And then it says the point will move from quadrant 2 all the way down here to quadrant 4. Now, remember that this really is going counterclockwise, so it's really moving this way, Okay, so from quadrant 2 goes around this way counterclockwise to quadrant 4. Remember, these quadrants are labeled quadrant 1, quadrant 2, which is where C starts, then quadrant 3, and then quadrant 4. Okay? All right, and so you'll see again that now that this is rotated around, instead of being in the upper left now, it's on the lower right of the rectangle. So to find the exact location, you're going to imagine it that Z0, 0, and C form opposite corners of a box. Well, we showed you that here and here. Well, here are the opposite corners of the box again. And when you rotate the box, keeping the corner of the origin fixed, so in other words, you'd have to make a box that's the same shape and size. You could cut something out to do that, rotate it around 0, and then you would find the other points just simply by starting out with point C, the lower, you'll use the lower right-hand corner here instead of the upper left up here. Okay. All right. So now let's go on to the next portion of this. Fumbly fingers here. All right, so the next screen shows you the same kind of situation, but we're going to start now with point D. So your box actually gets a little shorter. If you remember in the original, or in the previous picture, the box extended all the way out to where C was at the coordinates of x is -9, y is 3. Here the coordinates are at -7 and 3, so the box is trimmed by 2 units, you see there. But then they rotate them around again. And so again, the point will move from quadrant 2 to quadrant 4 like it did before. And again, it's just, you could cut out a box made with the same size. You'd have to figure that out, rotate it around, and you'd find where D is, and now you've got C and D here. Okay. So remember, the distance from the y-axis to D is, on the x-axis, a distance of 7 units for this screen, whereas when we were going for C, it was a distance of 9 units. Okay, so you set your next point there at, in this case, x is +7, y is -3. Okay? All right. And so then they want to finish this, so they say, okay, now you're going to rotate points E and F, and they give you the coordinates. E's is -7 and 5, so you could figure that out by looking at this. And of course, it's shown here in the original problem. And F is -9 and 5, same thing. And you're going to rotate those 180 degrees clockwise around the origin. And E prime, we said, has coordinates of 7 and 5, and F is coordinates of, C prime is coordinates of, where am I here? E prime is coordinates of 7 and -5, and F prime is coordinates of 9 and -5. And so all you're doing, you already found C and D. Well, you knew that these boxes were grids of 2, so, and you knew that C and F were on the same line that was perpendicular. Now you see C is going to be the top of the box instead of the bottom, so you're going down 2 units, and you can find where F should be. And the same thing from D, you can go down 2 units, and you can find where E prime is, D prime to E prime. So that's how they are doing this, okay? And people, as I say, they get all twisted up over these problems. But use the box if you want to for the first 2, and then you should be able to, first 2 points, that is, C and D to C prime, D prime. And then, you could do boxes for E and F if you wanted to. Obviously, the height of the box will be, instead of at 1, 2, y is 3, it's going to be y is now 5. Okay, and then over here, instead of -3, it'll be -5 for e prime f prime. So that's the way you would figure these. All right. So that's it. That takes you through this. Obviously, these are going to get more difficult as you go. But if you have any questions or problems, please see me about this. Be happy to talk to you. Just send me an email if you want me to have a quick Zoom meeting to go over some of this. Look forward to seeing you. And remember that, and I sent out a notice on this, 9:30, I'm sorry, not 9:30, at 11 o'clock on Friday, we are going to have what will be the first of a series of recurring Zoom meetings for the class. And I call those office hours. That can be anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, where you can ask general questions, or we can deal with connection issues, that kind of thing. And then, we can do separate one-on-one meetings on an asked-for basis into the future. All right, so that's it for today. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye now.